The noon sun spilled through the windows of Sunrise Corner Cafe, painting warm stripes across the checkered floor. Rachel Bennett wiped the counter, lost in the rhythm of another quiet shift, until the bell above the door broke the calm. 2 uniformed officers stepped in, boots heavy, eyes sweeping the room like they owned it. Conversations died. Forks froze mid-air. They stopped at the corner booth, where a man in a worn jacket sat alone, head bowed over his coffee. "Let's see some ID," Officer Brooks said, his tone sharp, practiced, the kind that made good people feel guilty for breathing. The man looked up, voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just drinking my coffee." Rachel's hands stilled. She'd seen this before. Power pressing down just because it could. "He's done nothing wrong," she said quietly. Brooks turned, his smirk cold. "You want trouble, sweetheart. Keep talking." And she did. In that breath of silence, something in Rachel shifted, the moment an ordinary waitress stopped being invisible. What happened next would shake their entire town. You're watching Canada's Heartfelt Tales. Subscribe now, and witness the moment courage refused to stay quiet. The air inside Sunrise Corner Cafe grew heavier with every second. People tried to pretend they weren't watching, but every glance flicked toward the corner booth. The sound of the ceiling fan hummed above the tension like a countdown. Rachel stood her ground, her palms damp, her voice steady only because it had to be. The taller officer, Brooks, towered over the man in the booth, his hand resting near his holster like a silent threat. The other one, Hayes, leaned back just enough to look amused. "Sir, we can do this the easy way," Brooks said, low and menacing. The man didn't flinch. "I already told you, I'm not causing trouble." Rachel stepped closer. "He's a paying customer. If you're here for a reason, say it. Otherwise, let him finish his coffee." Brooks turned, eyes narrowing. "Miss Bennett, right? I know your family. Didn't your brother get caught skipping school last month? You want us looking into that again?" The room fell dead quiet. Rachel's pulse hammered against her throat. That was it, the tactic. Threaten the people who couldn't fight back. From the counter, George's voice trembled. "Rachel, don't. Just let it go." But Rachel didn't move. "You're out of line," she said. Brooks smirked. "And you're about to be out of a job." That single sentence hung in the air. The man in the booth finally looked up. His eyes were deep-set, calm, but filled with quiet fire. He spoke softly, but his words cut clean through the room. "Officer, you're harassing me. I'd like you to leave." Brooks barked a short laugh. "You'd like me to leave?" He leaned closer, his badge almost touching the man's face. "Don't test me, old man." The scrape of Rachel's shoes broke the silence. She stepped right between them, her voice trembling but unbroken. "Then arrest both of us. Because I'm not moving." A long second passed. Hayes muttered, "This is ridiculous, Brooks. Cameras are up." He nodded toward a teenager in the corner recording everything with his phone. Brooks cursed under his breath. He straightened, shot Rachel a glare sharp enough to cut, then spat. "You just made a mistake you'll regret." He turned and stormed out, Hayes following. The door slammed. The glass rattled. For a heartbeat no one spoke. Then quietly applause. Someone clapped near the window. Another joined. The sound grew until the whole cafe echoed with it. Rachel's hands trembled so badly she could barely breathe. The man stood, nodded once and said simply, "Thank you." She wanted to ask his name, but all she could do was nod back. That night the video hit the internet. Within hours, Rachel Bennett's name was everywhere. #StandWithRachel. Some called her brave. Others called her reckless. By morning, local reporters camped outside Sunrise Corner Cafe. When Rachel arrived for work, microphones nearly blocked her path. "Did you mean to challenge the police? Are you afraid for your safety? Was the man in the video someone you knew?" She kept her head down. "I just did what anyone should do," she said and slipped inside. George was waiting behind the counter, face pale. They came by, he said. The police. He nodded. Said you're interfering with an active investigation. They're not happy. I'm not either, she replied. But that evening, as she closed up, something strange happened. A black car pulled up outside the cafe. Sleek, quiet. The window lowered, revealing the same man from the booth. He smiled faintly. May I come in? Rachel hesitated, then unlocked the door. The cafe lights flickered warm across his face. He looked different, composed, but there was a gravity to him. My name's William Cross, he said. And I owe you more than you know. She frowned. For standing up. For not walking away, he said simply. That's rarer than gold these days. He reached into his jacket and placed an envelope on the counter. You might need this. Consider it a thank you. Rachel shook her head. I don't want money. It's not money, he said softly. It's protection. He turned to leave. They'll try to scare you. Don't let them. When she opened the envelope later, it wasn't cash. It was a lawyer's card, embossed and heavy. The name read Eleanor Voss, Corporate Counsel, Cross Industries. By the next week, everything spiraled. The cafe's front window was shattered overnight. A note scrawled on cardboard read, Keep your mouth shut. Rachel's mother saw it on the news and begged her to quit. They're dangerous, baby. Please. Rachel kissed her forehead. I can't undo what's already been done, Mom. The tension built. Customers thinned. George whispered about shutting down for safety. And just when things couldn't get worse, Brooks and Hayes came back. This time they didn't come inside. They parked across the street, windows rolled down, eyes fixed on her. All day. Every day. When Rachel left work that night, her tires were slashed. Police cruiser passed by, slow, taunting. She clenched her jaw, refusing to cry. The next morning a delivery truck pulled up. The driver handed her a clipboard. Delivery for Rachel Bennett. I didn't order anything. He shrugged. Paid in full. Name on the invoice, William Cross. Inside were brand new kitchen appliances, a gleaming espresso machine, and a note, Keep standing tall. George stared, bewildered. Who is this guy? Rachel only said, Someone who believes people still matter. 2 weeks later, a black SUV rolled into town. Men in suits stepped out, carrying cameras and documents. The media swarmed again, but this time they weren't after Rachel. They were after them. Officers Brooks and Hayes. An investigation had opened. Allegations of extortion, falsified reports, and harassment surfaced. Brooks' voice could be heard on leaked audio threatening local business owners for donations. When the news broke, the cafe exploded with customers again. People came not just for coffee but for something that had been missing. Pride. Rachel stood behind the counter, watching sunlight stream through the repaired glass. George leaned over. Looks like you started something. She smiled faintly. Maybe we all did. One afternoon William returned. No jacket, no disguise. The whole cafe went still when he walked in. Mr. Cross, Rachel greeted, uncertain. He nodded. Just William. Can we talk? They sat in the same booth where it all began. You weren't just helping a stranger that day, he said quietly. You were standing between corruption and exposure. Those officers were after me because they knew who I was, and what I refused to pay for. Rachel blinked. You're that William Cross. He smiled. The one who owns Crosstech, yes. But that's not the part that matters. He slid a folder across the table. I bought this cafe. George agreed. But it's not mine. It's yours now. Rachel stared at the papers, heart pounding. Mine. You gave people courage. I'm just giving you a platform to keep doing it. Tears welled in her eyes. Why me? William looked at her, truly looked. Because decency isn't common. You didn't wait to see if I was rich before you stood up. Outside a crowd was gathering. Journalists, customers, locals. William stood, raising his voice. This woman reminded an entire town what integrity looks like. She faced power and didn't bow. From this day, Sunrise Corner Cafe becomes Heart's home, a community space for everyone. Applause filled the street. Rachel covered her mouth, overwhelmed. But not everyone clapped. Across the road, Carl Thompson, owner of a rival cafe, watched with narrowed eyes. He'd been Riverside's big man for years, bragging about his connections with city officials. To see Rachel's tiny shop rise from ashes while his business emptied made his blood boil. Within days, Carl began whispering. "She staged the whole thing," he told customers. "She's with that billionaire, it's all PR." When that failed, he bribed a health inspector to shut her down. The man came one morning, clipboard in hand. "Routine inspection," he said curtly. Rachel didn't flinch. She'd scrubbed every inch of that place herself. When he couldn't find a single violation, he grumbled. Somebody must have made a mistake, and left. Later that week, security footage leaked. Carl handing the inspector an envelope. The backlash was swift. His cafe closed within days. Rachel didn't celebrate. She just opened Heart's home at sunrise like always, and poured coffee for the people who believed in her. Months passed. Heart's home became the soul of Riverside. William's son, Ben, often sat in the corner booth, sketching murals. One day, he showed Rachel a drawing of her standing among townspeople, light streaming behind her. "It's called Where Hearts Meet," he said shyly. She framed it on the wall. Customers stopped to stare, some with tears in their eyes. But even as the town healed, Rachel knew what courage had cost. Her mother's health still wavered. Danny, her brother, faced bullying at school for being the sister of the hero. Some nights, she sat alone after closing, wondering if doing the right thing always had to hurt so much. One evening, William came by. "You're quiet," he said. "Just tired," she admitted. "Some days it feels like I lit a fire I can't control." He smiled. "That's what fires do, they burn away what's rotten." Outside, the sound of laughter drifted through the open window. Families, students, old folks. Life returning. Then came the reckoning. Officer Brooks, stripped of his badge, filed a defamation suit against the city. He claimed Rachel's video ruined his life. The courtroom was packed. Cameras flashed as he swaggered in, chin high, suit sharp. Rachel sat quietly in the back. William's lawyer, Eleanor Voss, stood to speak. "The defendant claims his reputation was unfairly damaged," she said, pacing slowly. "But reputation requires integrity first." She pressed a button. A recording filled the courtroom. Brooks' own voice caught on a leaked call. "You either pay or we'll make you disappear." Gasps rippled. The judge's gavel struck. Brooks' smirk vanished. Within minutes, the case collapsed. Brooks left the courthouse in handcuffs, face pale beneath the camera's glare. Hayes turned state witness, exposing years of abuse. Justice, slow but certain, had arrived. Back at Heart's home, Rachel poured the first cup of coffee of the morning. The mural gleamed under the soft light. Customers filled the seats, laughter echoing again. George leaned against the counter. "You ever think about that day?" "Every time I look at that corner," she said softly. "And if it happened again," she smiled, "I'd still say, he's done nothing wrong." William entered, Ben trailing behind him with a new sketch. This one showed the cafe surrounded by hearts, words written across the top. "Courage lives here." Rachel hung it beside the register. Outside, the wind carried the smell of coffee and new beginnings through Riverside. A town no longer silent, no longer afraid. And somewhere far from that quiet street, a headline flashed across the evening news. "Fired officer sentenced to 5 years, Riverside waitress praised for heroism." Rachel looked out the window, the sun rising gold over the town she helped rebuild. For the first time in a long time, she exhaled. The quiet was no longer heavy. It was peace. The town was quiet again, but not the same. Rachel stood by the window of Heart's home, watching the evening sun scatter gold across the tables where strangers now spoke like friends. The old fear that once lived in her chest had turned into something steadier, a calm strength born from everything she'd faced. She no longer wondered if doing the right thing was worth it. She knew. Outside, a young girl taped a handwritten note to the door. "Thank you for making our town brave again." Rachel smiled, pressing her hand against the glass. Sometimes change doesn't come with noise or headlines. Sometimes, it begins with one voice refusing to stay silent. This isn't just Rachel's story. It's a reminder of what we're all capable of when truth stands taller than fear. If this story moved you, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Canada's Heartfelt Tales, where every act of courage finds its voice.